Positioning as a fullback in football is crucial, both offensively and defensively. And because this position requires tons of running and chasing during the game, knowing and understanding your position 100% as well as knowing how to conserve your energy will give you tons of advantage to be better on the field than the other players. I mentioned this in many of my other videos. Knowing how to conserve your energy during the game is 50% of the success in my opinion. The rest are talent, strength, and being smart. And the only way to conserve energy is to know how to position yourself on the field. Positionally, you are responsible of the flank, which is the sides of the field. In the recent years of modern football, fullbacks, wingbacks are giving a lot more responsibilities where you're really expected to run up and down the field almost the entirety of the game and constantly overlapping your winger. Typically, with a defensive line of 4 players in the back, you are fullback or right back or left back, same thing really. But even then, you're still expected to overlap your winger almost the entire game. And you're doing this by pushing your winger more centrally, where the winger is creating that outside space for you to overlap and go help your team in the attacks. Because most likely during your attacks, the holding mid will drop right in between your center backs, which will force your center back to spread up. And this will also force you as a fullback to push up high on the field. This is generally the structure of a 4 defensive back line. If you are playing in a team where you have 3 center backs or 5 defensive back line, that means that you're considered a wing back. It's very similar to being a fullback really, but the job distribution is a little different comparing wingback to a fullback. So if you are playing 5 in the back or 3 in the back, this means that your team most likely doesn't have a winger. Which forces you to be the winger of the team as well as the fullback of the team by giving you a lot more responsibility on the field. So this might help you a little better. If you think about it, when you are a fullback, your job distribution is about 20% of attack, 80% of defense if you're a fullback. But if you are a wingback, your job distribution is 40% attack, 60% of defense. When attacking, you're expected to open wide, overlap, and create opportunities, options for your team to find you. This doesn't only create opportunities for you to receive the ball, but if you are going wide and if you are overlapping, you are spreading the opposition's defensive line as well as their central line, which is opening up more spaces centrally and in their back line for your teammates to receive the ball easier. This most likely happens if you have the ball where you can make central runs, where you're pushing your winger up wide, and this might create some confusion in the opposition as well, because most of the time the opposition or even your own team expects your fullback to make wide runs, right? So if you do make runs where it's more central sometimes, where you are changing your position with your winger, and this might create some confusion, but you must communicate with your winger to hold back for you until you come back to recover for your position. At the end, it all comes down to understanding one another within your team, because if you look at the teams that have been playing together for so long are way more successful than the newer teams. And the reason behind it, or everybody in the team understand each other, communication is in a great level, coach's connection with the team is incredible, and that's why the teams that communicates the most, plays longer, are the more successful teams. You're also expected to have great crossing skills as well as long passing skills as a fullback, because oftenly you're gonna end up having the ball wide side of the field where you're expected to deliver these balls to your strikers, to your wingers, to your central players. So it's a great idea to improve these skills to be a successful fullback as well. When you are defending, your job is obviously very important. You will really need to know where to be on the field, who to hold, or where to make runs to, because especially if the opposition crosses the central line towards your area. if the opposition's attack is progressing from your side, you have to face the opposition and you have to close the central channels where you're forcing your opposition to go wide, because you don't want the opposition to take the inside channel where they can create more dangerous attacks. So that's why it's very important that you're forcing your opposition with your body positioning, with your stance, that where you take 90 degrees angle basically, and you're looking towards where you want the opposition to go. Your goal is to not make an early move to tackle, waste as much time as you can, and hope for your winger or your center midfielder or your center back to come and assist you to win the ball. So if the attack is coming from your side, your job is fairly straightforward. But remember, your communication, understanding your position, and your connection with your teammates is incredibly important for your success as well as for your team's success when you're defending. It gets a little more complicated if the attack is being generated from the opposite side. This is when you shift towards your penalty box and leaving the opposition's winger for your winger to defend, or for your center mid to defend. This is not always the case, but if you are shifting inside, you need to make sure that somebody is behind you to cover for the opposition's winger. This could be your winger or your center mid. It depends who you're communicating with during the game. And the reason that you're shifting more towards the penalty box is naturally, wherever the ball is, players likes to shift. And generally, this creates that, everybody following each other towards the ball, where now it's your job to cover where your center backs are not covering. This will happen quite often, and you, as a winger, not just a fullback, as a winger, you'll be thinking in your head, okay, do I need to go all the way back there? But yes, you do as a winger as well. But your fullback needs to make sure that you are there as well. So it all comes down to, again, communicating with your team. And this also quite common sense too, where if you are not shifting to close that space between you and the center back, you have to communicate with your holding midfielder or your central midfielder to drop back to that space, because somebody has to be there for their long balls or for their crosses. If you are shifting, make sure your winger is back there. If you're not shifting, make sure somebody is in front of you between you and the center backs. Also, definitely be patient with your tackles. Show them outside, staying on the goal side where you are closing the inside channels rather than closing the wide area of the field. So you being in the inside channel, meaning that you're forcing the opposition to go outside, which is ideal for your team to defend. Please write down if you have any questions in the comments, and I will try to do my best to answer them all. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to my channel with the notifications on, and you can also become a member, where I have a specific Discord group just for my members where we can chat. You can also find my playlist right over here. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you next Sunday.